Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. Doing something a little bit different today, as you probably noticed. I am filming outside. I'm in a park not that far away from my house. It's also not that far away from the interstate and bypass and from a local airport, so you may still hear some traffic and plane noises in the background. I had started filming at a different park, a better park closer to my house, but a block or two away, someone was carving up concrete and it just kept cutting into the sound on this. So, fresh recording, here we are, new park. Now, the reason I decided to do this outdoor podcast today is I got up, I looked out the window, and it looked just beautiful outside. It's 61 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, just the faintest whisper of a breeze, probably not even enough for it to pick up on my microphone. But I thought, what a beautiful day, I should get outside. And as I got outside, I sort of had a bit of a flashback because I'm filming this today, it's Friday, September 10th. And I distinctly remember September 10th, 20 years ago, because that was the day that Jack Welch passed the baton to Jeff Immelt as CEO of General Electric. And since Jeff Immelt was sort of our local guy, he ran GE Healthcare, or it might have been GE Medical Systems back then, all the local employees went to the Bradley Center, which is where the Bucks used to play, to watch the transfer of power. And after it was over and I was walking back to my car, I think on State Street, I looked at the sky and I thought, wow, this is like the bluest sky I think I've ever seen. And it really felt more like a spring day than an autumn day. Early autumn, late summer. It's hard to tell what the difference is between the two here in southeast Wisconsin. But I just remember thinking, wow, what an amazing, amazing day. Now my hope is that although my channel members get to watch this early, they'll likely get to see it today, the rest of you won't see it until Monday. And I hope on Monday we're all breathing a sigh of relief, looking back on this weekend, saying, thank goodness nothing happened. And anyhow, if this little segment here in any way triggered you to want to make a comment, I hope that it's not a political comment. So I think I just got the heavy part of this podcast out of the way. An interesting thing happened to me the other day. I got out onto LinkedIn, which I don't do very often. It's not my thing anymore. I feel like it's really become Facebook. It's not really the professional thing that I think it was supposed to be at one point. But I got out there and I saw that I had like 19 messages. I never get messages. So I open it up and I see all of these people and it's the exact same message from every one of them. And about 80% of these people I don't know. But the message is, congratulations on your work anniversary. Every one of them. So clearly they were all hitting that canned response. I must have set the start date for Serious Keto in September of 2019. It was actually May 13th, I think was the day that I released my first video, but somehow I screwed up the dates on LinkedIn. So all these people, they care enough to click a button, but not really enough to type something of their own. But I just bring that up because it's kind of weird to think that Serious Keto now has been around like 2.5 years. That's pretty exciting. Hopefully it stays around. I hope it does. I hope keto stays popular and that all of you keep watching. In last week's podcast, I talked about sort of who could do the most harm to keto. Where does the harm to keto come from? Does it come from the outside or the inside? And Sahil over at Headbanger's Kitchen and I pretty much agreed that the biggest threat to keto comes from within the keto community. And along those lines, Dennis from Black Tie Kitchen sent me a link to a Joe Rogan podcast. I feel like I'm totally name dropping here, but he sent me a link to this Joe Rogan podcast that had this woman on by the name of Rhonda Patrick, and she was talking keto. Now, the interesting thing is, she had only been doing keto for 13 days, and she's giving some very strong opinions about keto that I disagreed with, as someone who's been doing keto for quite a bit more than 13 days. There were things that she was saying that conflicted directly with my personal experience. Now, I don't know who Rhonda Patrick is. I got out, I looked her up on Google, she's got a health blog, but what she was saying that was really sort of starting to get me worked up is just how hard keto is. Oh, keto is so hard. It's such a hard diet. Again, I think she used the word diet, which I don't like, which is why I say it in that sort of irritated way. So she keeps referring to the keto diet as being so hard. It's just so hard to do. She just said it over and over and over again throughout this particular podcast. And it's interesting. I find, though I haven't listened to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, that when he doesn't agree with someone, like he'll challenge something that they say, but then if they push back, he just kind of lets it go. You know, you could be like, Joe, you know, the sky is green. And he'd be like, is it really? Is it really green? Yes, Joe, it's really green. All right. So he just kind of let some keto things slide. And I know he's got experience in keto and carnivore, so he could have pushed back on some of these things. The other thing that Rhonda said is the majority of people who think they're doing keto aren't really doing keto. And that's one of those things that just grinds my gears, that whole elitism, especially like if you've only been doing it 13 days, you think you can tell everyone that thinks they're doing keto that they're not doing keto? They're just doing low carb. I'm of the opinion that probably most people that are serious about keto are probably doing, blood glucose and or ketone tests. I think they're probably counting their carbs, either total or net, and have dialed in what works for them. So to come out and say, after 13 days of experience, that most of these people out there that think they're doing keto aren't doing keto, that's just sort of the snobby keto elitism that I don't think belongs, and I think it turns people off. The other thing Rhonda mentioned was that the night before this podcast, she had had a steak and some cauliflower mash that came from, I guess, a keto delivery company, and she said that it practically knocked her out of ketosis. She was at like a 2.6 or something like that on her ketones, and it knocked her down to a 1.3, which still, you're still in nutritional ketosis at 1.3. But she felt that that was the equivalent of knocking her out of ketosis, and it was caused by cauliflower. And when I heard that, my immediate thought is, this sounds a little bit like BS to me. Either there was something else besides cauliflower, or there's something metabolically going on with her, because some cauliflower mash shouldn't drop your ketones by almost 1.5 points. So maybe she's just got some sort of special sensitivity to carbs. I'm not sure. But when you take personal anecdotes and then extrapolate that this is going to be the case for everybody, that's just wrong. It's like saying if I have a peanut allergy, nobody on the planet should eat peanuts. I don't know, maybe that's too much of a stretch. But again, I think if anybody were casually thinking about getting into a ketogenic way of eating, if they listen to this podcast, they'd be turned off from it. And in fact, I was turned off from it. I stopped 24 minutes in. I think 10 minutes of that was Joe Rogan pimping product, but that aside, I hit a point where I'm just like, this is really, I'm listening to someone that sounds like an enemy of keto talking about keto, and I just stopped. And speaking of stopping, I'm going to stop right now and insert a little ad break. A video type I get a lot of requests for, and I keep saying no, is, Steve, why don't you do a what I eat in a day video? And the reason for that is generally what I eat in a day is pretty insignificant, in my opinion. It's just not that interesting. I'll have, since I quit doing the coffee with the cream and the collagen in it for breakfast, I'm now intermittent fasting at a minimum till noon. It depends. If I can push it further, I do. I'll have a cup or two of green tea in the morning. Then at some point in the afternoon, I'll have like a little snack. It's like some nuts, some cheese, something like that. And then we have dinner. And for dinner, we just sort of work our way through the animal kingdom, doing the various types of protein. It's chicken, pork, beef, fish, whatever. We kind of work our way through. And then I'll have some sort of cruciferous vegetable and or a salad of leafy greens. That's sort of it, like every day. It just strikes me as a bit boring. But what I thought I could do, if you're interested, is what I eat in a week. And it's not going to be so much here's a bunch of filming of me eating, because I think that's kind of boring too. But I'd take, either pictures or brief little couple second, panning shots of the food and just show you, here's what I eat in a week. I don't know, is that interesting? To me, it doesn't strike me as that interesting. And I have a feeling that people are going to see me eat something that I wouldn't make a recipe out of. Like, it's too complicated. Very often when I'm cooking for myself, I'll just cook something, by instinct. And that doesn't make for good recipes, I think, or good recipe videos. Anyhow, I feel like I'm babbling here. I probably am. Is something like that interesting to you? What I eat in a week? And if so, should it be a separate video? Should it be something I throw into the podcast? I'd like your opinion, because I don't want to do it if there's just a smattering of people that are interested in it and are going to watch it. Also, a little update on September's 24 and 21. My positive, the thing that I was adding, was going to be working out with this VR app called Supernatural. And it's expensive. It's like $20 a month after the first month. And I really wanted to see if this was something I would be interested in doing, if I felt that this was going to be a good sort of exercise for me. After a week, I've decided no. I don't enjoy it. I find that the trainers are a little bit intrusive in the exercise. You know, you're trying to listen to music and you're swinging these bats around at objects. That's one aspect. The other aspect is it doesn't blur the lines between game and exercise in what I would consider a fun way. It feels like not the sort of exercise that I would do. I'd rather do something high intensity, interval based. Get out and do some sprints or something like that. Just wasn't feeling it on the game. Plus, I did work up enough of a sweat that then the VR goggles would start to slip down and then things would go out of focus. So overall, I've decided Supernatural, not gonna be my thing. I'm gonna pivot. And what I've been doing this week is I've been getting out and doing a brief set of sprints, and then I walk for about an hour. So for the sprints, I do a minute of active stretching as a warm-up, and then it's just alternating between 20-second sprints, 10-second walks. I do that 10 times, and then a minute cool down, which is just sort of a jog, which is kind of what my sprints look like by the time I get up to 10 anyway. So that's going to be my positive for the duration of this month. The thing that I'm doing to improve myself is the sprints and the running. So the last thing that's going on with me right now, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the Serious Keto podcast or if it was in the Lean Body Mind podcast, but I got a Ninja Creami ice cream maker, and I have been having a lot of fun playing with that, trying to develop some keto ice cream. I've been using keto chow as a base, and I've been experimenting with the type and the quantity of fat that I use, as well as add-ins like allulose to try and make it a little bit more creamy. But if you're going to be experimenting on a food item, probably the two best and most fun ones are pizza and ice cream, because even when you fail, they're pretty good. So I hope to have a video on that within the next week or two. I want to make sure that I really have dialed it in and put it through all of its paces before I do a review video. But so far, I'm liking it an awful lot. I'm not sure if I'll do that review on Serious Keto or if I'll do it on Lean Body Mind, but it will be in one of those two places. And now there is a little bit of a breeze starting to pick up, so I don't know if the microphone is going to pick up that noise. It tends to pick it up pretty easily. So I think I'm going to put a bow on this podcast. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope we all had a great weekend. Thanks for watching.